And welcome to today's live lesson where we're going to talk about common mistakes that Spanish speakers make. And it's not just Spanish speakers, but today is a special lesson because it is Hispanic Heritage Month in the US, and I'm Mexican American, so I thought it would be a fun theme. So, first, let's start, as we always do, with the mindset. If you've ever thought that you're embarrassed of your accent, whether it's because you've had people say things to you that make you feel bad, or you face discrimination, or you just get frustrated that you don't sound the way you want to sound. Today, we're letting go of the embarrassment, keep breathing, and we're going to really lean into the fact that your accent means it is obvious that you know more than one language. And that's pretty awesome, which makes you awesome. So go ahead and breathe in. We're going to get this fun new mindset. And speaking of breathing, as you know, we will always start with 3, 2, 1. And just so you know, I see some more people popping in. I can see you can see me, but everybody else can't see you until I bring you up so you can relax. All right, let's do 3, 2, 1. Activate calm confidence. Get the confident posture and a breath to slow down the heart rate. Okay, the first one we're going to do is this is something that I hear a lot of people make this mistake. And part of it's because of the way that we say in Spanish, gracias a Dios. And part of it is it could be a misconjugation. So this is something that a lot of Spanish speakers say. But remember, it's just thank God or thank goodness, not thanks. So here, if you want a visual, because sometimes, you've probably heard that feedback before, but you still find yourself making the same mistake. So I find if you see it with the sentence starter, it might help you remember it better. So here, I thank God, we thank goodness, let's thank goodness. So sometimes that seeing the grammar behind it can help you remember it even better. So this is really important because these are tiny moments that just cause a little bit of confusion when you say it, and it's a tiny thing that you can fix very easily, and it immediately makes your English sound a little more correct. So we're starting with the small ones, and then we're working our way up to bigger sounds. Now, this next one of my favorite foods in the world, a lot of Spanish speakers will pronounce it pizza, but it's actually Pete, Pete, pizza. Instead of sa, notice a schwa, pizza. So instead of the k, and remember, if you're saying pizza, but you're with Spanish speakers and everyone's saying pizza because you're speaking Spanish, that's fine. But to be able to switch it and say it in a way that's a little more correct when you're speaking with English speakers, always a plus. All right, now this sound is a very, very specific sound that makes your English sound very strongly accented. Not a bad thing, but that's why we're here. So most Spanish speakers will pronounce this like a hard J, Jess. Think of YouTube, but it's actually going to be softer. So to compare it to a Spanish sound, it's going to sound like the HIE in hielo. So it's softer. So not Jess, but yes, yes. Now, even though you know that and you can associate it with yellow, here the mechanics of it is your teeth right now, the way you're saying it, if you're saying it with that harder sound, your teeth are tight. But when you do that, it sounds like to an English speaker, it sounds like j, j. That's the J sound that we have, or the DGE in judge. So what you want to do is relax your teeth a little more, relax your jaw. Yes, instead of just, and make myself bigger here. Instead of just, yeah, yes. So if you want to check yourself, if you don't hear the difference yet, that's okay because that's like the harder part. Look in the mirror, look on your phone camera, and just make sure your teeth are a little bit separated. YouTube, not YouTube. Notice my teeth come back closed. YouTube, but YouTube. Yes. So that just tiny separation, it's a tiny little bit. You don't have to open your mouth a lot, but it completely eliminates the accented sound and it gives a lot more clarity. So instead of jello, the color, yellow, which sounds a lot like yellow in Spanish, like I have here, but with the American O at the end. Right? And here, another reason it's really important is because it changes the meaning. So as you can see here, if I pronounce it with the correct sound, Or if I open my teeth a little bit, it's going to sound like yell, like, don't yell at me. If I close my teeth and I make that accented sound, it actually sounds like a different word. Gel, a gel hair product, a gel medication. So there are moments where it just makes you sound like you have an accent and moments like it actually changes the sound. Now, the next sound that's I hear overpronounced, kind of like the Y. There are certain sounds I find Spanish speakers tend to overpronounce a lot. And then there's a specific moment where you don't pronounce, and we'll get to that at the end. For this one, the H. Sometimes the H is silent in words, but when it's not as strong as the G and the J in Spanish. For example, in Spanish, we have a really strong gemelos, Jose. But the H in English, and that's usually the sound that you'll make, the H in English is going to be softer. So it's less effort in your throat. So just soften it up. So instead of hello, hello. So don't close your throat as much as you would in Spanish. So repeat after me. Hello. I mean, you should really be, if you ate garlic last night, you should be able to really feel it. You want to make sure you relax the throat. It's not being held. So, want to soften it up. Also, Hebrew speakers, Arabic speakers, Spanish speakers, those are all language backgrounds that tend to overpronounce this sound. Now, with hello, we're going to also talk about another sound that I hear that causes a little bit of an accented sound. And look, it's understandable because in Spanish, you don't have as many variations of vowel sounds as we do in English. So it's just a habit, right? Hello. So Spanish speakers finish with O. However, you want to make sure it's the O. So it's going to sound like O, U, O. So I like to think about it as the big donut and the little donut. Hello. Make sure you're moving your mouth. Good. I see all the mouths moving. And it's the muscle memory. Because when you think about it, you're like, oh, hello. No. No. Hello. Now, if you think, oh, that's so complicated, how am I going to remember it? Or English has too many vowel sounds, which, yes, we do. But something you can do is, because I've noticed that Spanish speakers are wonderful at imitating the way Americans say English or Spanish words. So when you imitate them, you actually realize that you do know how to make those movements. You just haven't consciously put them together with pronunciation. And the reason we're not making fun of accents, but this is where we can use it to our advantage. The reason that Americans say it like that is because they're putting the American O in there. So to them, they see this and they think, hola. But when you're imitating that, you realize, oh, I can make those muscle movements. So sometimes when we have fun with that and the variations, it can help you with activating the right muscle. Okay, now this one's part, by the way, relax your shoulders, breathe. You don't have to memorize all this. We're practicing. Okay, so this one is partially a pronunciation thing because they're false friends, false cognates. They look and kind of sound the same. And partially it's a grammar thing. So this one, actualmente, which is Spanish, that does not translate to actually. And this is something that even at the advanced level, I think because you may make this mistake throughout your English journey and it's not been corrected often enough because maybe you don't make it a lot. And that's why I find it's still present in the advanced level. But when you want to say actualmente, if you're translating that sentiment or that word, it's actually going to be currently, nowadays, presently. Most often I use currently. Now for actually, so the way that we use actually, so now you know, actualmente is currently. Actually, that translates more to de hecho o en realidad. So other synonym phrases that we can use for this one would be in fact or as a matter of fact. I find that if you know other phrases you can use, it just helps make that association stronger so that you understand when to use it more. I like to think of actually as like when you want to correct someone, like, oh, the sky is green. Actually, it's blue. So if you think about it in that term, like find an analogy or an example that is really obvious to you, and that's going to help you. Okay, so then the CH and the SH sound, which I think this might be the last one, so go ahead and relax your shoulders. These are really good for Spanish speakers. It's hard because typically we only have the CH in Spanish. So the ch, you're used to that sound. I find that that's not usually the problem. It's the SH that can be a little confusing. So we're going to practice it. The CH, this one again, it's the same as the Spanish one. So churro, chango, chamaco. I want you to say these words, but I want you to realize how strongly you feel the air inside your mouth. This is going to matter so that you can feel the difference with the SH. So say churro. And I'm watching all of you, by the way. Ch, ch, ch. So notice your teeth are together and you can feel that punch of air. Now for the SH, specifically for Spanish speakers, or if you're familiar with the way Argentinians speak, I find that the SH in English sounds a little bit like the way Argentinians pronounce the ella. So you notice how, like, as Mexican, I would say lluvia, but the way Argentinians say it, lluvia, j. And then for the SH, it's going to be with more air. But I find that this is a good way to kind of feel the difference between cheese, versus shower. So you're going to feel a softer air. It's not that punch. So lluvia, sh. And if you're familiar with one of my idols from childhood, shusha. So I find that this is one of the few words that I could think of that would help you really feel the difference. You wouldn't say chucha, shusha, shoo. Okay, so that was a lesson of the mistakes I still see advanced speakers make. Some other tips. I would say at the advanced level, I don't see this as much, but sometimes it'll pop in, and you might notice that you do this, that you'll add an to the beginning of words that start with S. So estrés instead of stress. A way you can practice this, if you're feeling like, I don't know if I do it or not, you can record yourself and if you do this, just start by if you're going to start with estrés, it's okay, open your mouth if you need to, but don't say the sound. Stress. And then you're going to bring your mouth, stress. So eliminate little pieces of that mispronunciation so that you can feel natural and actually see if you're doing it correctly. All right. And another tip here, and this is one that we talked about earlier, a lot of Spanish speakers, when words end, I find an M, N, and sometimes D, you won't finish the word. You won't finish the sound. What happens is it'll make it sound like your grammar is incorrect, because if you say like I'm Mexican, but you don't pronounce the M, it sounds like I'm Mexican. So it sounds like you don't have the verb. So it'll make you sound grammatically incorrect when I know that you're fine. So just practice finishing those sounds. I hear this the most with like Caribbean, Central America, and Northern South America. So those are the countries that I hear the most because of the way you speak Spanish and you eat those sounds or you eat the S's. You usually have those same tendencies in English. It's just something to be mindful of. And last but not least, open your mouth more. Also, depending on what country you're from or what region, you probably speak Spanish quickly. Don't do that in English, because what happens is you immediately go into the movements of your Spanish, which are smaller. For English, you need to open your mouth more. There are so many more vowel sounds. There's so many different syllables and the stress of the syllable in the sentence. I don't want you to think about slowing down. I want you to think about opening your mouth more. It'll immediately give you more clarity. It'll help you identify the places that you want to get some extra practice. And last but not least, remember, as always, your English is good enough. Everybody in here is advanced. I know all of you. I've seen your work. So I want you to know that your English is good enough. This is just refining it. So make sure confidence is the first thing, because if you make mistakes confidently, that's half the battle. If you make mistakes and you get shy and you just kills your energy, then you're not going to have the connection that I know you deserve. Okay. And if you want any coaching programs or check out other resources on the blog, go to my website. And I want you to pat yourself on the back because you invested part of your Friday in fine tuning these sounds. I'm so glad I get to see all of you. Hello. Hello to all your families. The baby over here, your wife, Elliot. Suzanne, pleasure seeing you. Mommy, always a pleasure. And Martha, say hello to your precious dogs. And again, I hope you enjoyed this.